9% of the people are unable to clear PMP in the first attempt. And then there are multiple reasons. One of the main reason is that people get distracted. They don't have a clear roadmap. For example, if you want to go to somewhere and if you have a clear map, you have clear direction, you can go to that. Most people go they start try to study PMP of their own, and as a result, they suffered very badly. PMP exam should not be taken lightly. In order to apply for PMP, the prerequisite is that you have to have a 4-year degree, 36 months experience on project, 35 hours of PMP training. Now, I see that some of our candidates does not have that experience. So what can they do? They can do certified associate project manager. So if any of you does not have 36 months of experience, that is approximately 3 years of experience on project, they can contact me directly and I can give them training on certified associate project manager. This is very important if you are starting your career as a certified associate project manager. You can have a boost in your career as compared to other participants who haven't done anything according to that. So I think we have Suhail Farooq with us and other participants who haven't done those experience, they can do this thing. So moving forward, okay, we have also the, just 1 second, one more participant. I just let him in into this session. Okay, Hasnan Ali. Okay. Now these are some facts and figure. These facts and figures were of 2019 March. PMI produced this fact annually, but right now I didn't have the updated fact because of COVID-19. But we have certified PMP nearly 1 million. Then all other 7 certification, which if you want, you can do that. Suhail, you have a question. I would suggest please write your question, and we're going to take question at the end of this session so that everyone can understand. And I'm sure most of the questions that you have will be ended in the end. Till the end, all the questions will be answered. And if still there is a question, you can ask surely. Okay. Now we have 7 other certifications: certificate associate in project management, portfolio management, program management. If you are a senior project manager having experience more than 10, 15 years, I would highly recommend that you have done PMP. Now you should go for program management professional. If you are someone who is dealing with the risk, then risk management professional is a must do certificate. If you are someone who is dealing with the schedule, then scheduling professional is a good certificate for you. And similarly, if you are someone dealing with the business, professional business analysis is a good certificate. And if you are someone who belongs to IT, who loves to do agile project, then we have agile certified practitioner. Currently, I'm also preparing for agile certified practitioner. And within a month, I'm going to give this exam. And if we cleared, I can also give the training on agile certified practitioner. Now, PIM book, project management body of knowledge. PIM book is basically the Bible, is basically the main guide for PMP. In PIM book, you learn the processes, you learn everything that you need to know about about PMP. But one thing that is very important, PIM book is a guide, it's a reference guide. You only learn about the processes, you learn about the initial groups. If you prepare for PMP exam only from PIM book, you will not succeed. You need to go through other reference guide. You need to go to Andy Crow. You need to go to Rita. You need to go to many questions to understand how PMP questions are structured. My friends, PMP questions are structured basically on your experience base. For example, in PMP, they are gonna ask you what are the scenarios that you're gonna face if there are change requests. What are the scenario if someone requests a change? What will you do? You have to have experience. You have to have an idea how the projects run. So this is the way how the questions are structured. Now, basically all the contents are taken from the PMP examination content outline. And then we have PMP handbook. PMP handbook tells basically the structure of exam, how the exam is going to be, what to do about the exam. So this is basically about handbook and exam content outline. If you are going to do PMP, I would highly recommend that you go through PMP handbook and examination content outline. Many people just skip these books. But my friend, all the questions that you are going to see in the PMP exam, they are coming from the examination content outline. So do study this. Okay. Then we have other publications like PMI standard and publication. For example, we have PIMBOK guide, as I already. Then we have program management standard. We have portfolio. Then we have organizational project management, OPA maturity. Then we have other standards like business analysis, requirement management, portfolios, implementation, agile, navigation complexity, managing organization, benefit realization. And for risk, we have risk management. Now, if you have any question, please ask now so that we can move further. If anyone have question, he can ask right now so that we can move further. So he'll ask, CAPM does not require any experience. No, CAPM does not require any experience. Any other question from anyone? What is the PMP examination? We are going to look at the next slides will be PMP examination fees. Any other question so that we can move forward? Okay. So did you guys required any password to enter? Because I'm receiving some messages that password is required. So इरफान, password की जरूरत थी enter होने के लिए? शायद जरूरत थी password की meeting को access करने के लिए? No password required. So okay, let's start again. PMP exams will have 200 questions. Out of 200 questions, 175 questions will be marked and 25 questions will not be marked, which it means that they does not have value in your PMP examination outline. But the thing is that we don't know which 25 questions are marked and which 25 questions are not marked. They are scattered all around your PMP exam. So for just simplicity, consider you have 200 questions and you have to do all 200 questions. You will have 4 hours to complete. Now, before COVID, PMP examination was not online, but now PMP examination is also online. So if you are giving online examination, you will have 2 hours, then you will have a break of 10 minutes, and then you can go to another. But the thing is that I will prefer if you go to Prometic Center. And the reason is that in the examination environment, it's easy to do. And if you have stable internet, these are some of the requirements for online examination. Okay, if you go for online examination, they can ask you, just like right now I'm speaking, they can ask you, please show the room, please show that you don't have anything on your desk, you can't have mobile phone, you can't have any paper. These are the prerequisite for PMP examination. The fees for PMP examination is $555 if you are non-member. If you are member, the fees for examination is $405, and the fees for membership is $139. So roughly the fees become $555. Your PMP exam will be valid for 3 years. In 3 years, you have to maintain 60 professional development units, 60 PDUs. How to earn these PDUs? I will explain it later. Now, once you have submitted the application, PMI will review your application, and if your PMP examination application is selected for audit, they will review that application. If it is not selected for audit, you have to pay them the fees, and then you can, if you are taking an online examination, you can take the examination at any available time. Okay. Now, if you get certified, this is the certificate that you will receive, and here your name will be written. Here will be written Iftikhar Ahmed, Shoaib Ahmed, Irfan Ali. Here your name will be written. If you think you want to go another certificate and have RMP certificate, your name will be written here. And for schedule, this is the certificate. And for business analysis, this will be the certificate. Now, let's see how the questions are divided. For examination content, we will have 5 domain: initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and control, and closing. 23 questions will come from initiation, 20 42 question from planning, 53 question from execution, 43 question from monitoring and control, and 14 question from closing. And in order to clear the examination, you need to clear 4 domains. You need to clear 4 domains. Initially, it was 3 domains. Now PMP has mandatory. Now PMP has mandatory that you have to clear 4 domains to clear the examination. Now, what are the domains and how they look? We will look into detail. But so far, if anyone have question, please let me know so we can go into project and project management. So if anyone have question, please let me know. Okay. No one have a question? Okay. So we are moving forward. Minimum experience required 36 months or 3 years experience is required in order to give examination of PMP. Okay. So let's move forward. What is project management? Now, what is, before moving to project management, let's see what is project. Project is temporary endeavor undertaken to create unique product, services, or result. Now, the important thing is that the project has to be temporary, and the things that you are going to produce, it has to be unique. It can be product, service, or result. Whatever you are producing, it has to be temporary and it has to be unique. If it is not temporary, if it is ongoing, that then it is not project, it is operation. For example, currently your organization is here and you want to move it to next elevation, you want to do something, then your future state will be here and you have to do project in order to achieve from here to here. And in the project, you have to do activity A, activity B, activity C. Similarly, for example, let me just consider the example of yourself. I want to do or you want to do PMP. Currently, you are here. Once you get certified, you can have an increase of 25% in your salary. Your future state will be here. So in order to move from here to there, you have to do a project. You have, and that project is project management professional training. You have to give the examination. Training is activity 1. Giving examination is activity 2. Clearing the examination is activity 3, and so on. Okay. Now, some of the projects that are taken because of market demand. Projects undertaken due to customer requested. Some projects are taken because of organizational need, and some projects are taken because of legal requirement. These are some of the reasons why projects are undertaken. Exam can ask you one of those things, why projects are undertaken. So for examination point of view, keep this in mind that projects are taken because of market demand, customer request, legal requirement, organizational need. Then once you understand why projects are undertaken, you need to know what is the difference between project and operation. As I have said earlier, projects are temporary, operations are ongoing. Projects are unique, that you have to produce something that is different, and operations are repetitive. Projects ends when objectives are met. That's it, end of story. Your objectives are met, project has ended. But operation does not end when objectives are met. So be clear about the difference of project and operation when you are giving your PMP exam. Now, what is project management? Project management is basically the application of processes, knowledge, skills, and experience to achieve the project objective. You want to achieve objective, you have some experiences. You need to know what are the processes that you need to combine with them. Then you need to combine your knowledge, skills within them. And when you apply that thing, you have to apply it. It has to be practical, then it becomes project management. Once again, let's read the definition. Project management is the application of processes, knowledge, skills, and experiences to achieve project objective. Before before PMBOK 6th edition, PMI considered triple constraint. Triple constraint were scope, cost, time. Once more, triple constraint. If PMI says in their examination, what are the triple constraint? Triple constraint will be scope, cost, time. But now PMI through their role delineation study have identified that there are other constraints that limit the project identification, that limit the project success, and those are risk. You can have risk at your project. There can be a scarce resource. For example, if you need 200-ton crane, or if you need a developer for your project, and the developer is not available, then that can be an issue. If you have a quality issue, that can also be a biggest issue for your project. So now we have 6 constraints at our project. But do remember, from examination point of view, if PMP asks what are the constraints, constraint will be triple constraint: scope, cost, time. But the additional constraint: risk, resource, and quality. Now, what is program? Program is a group of related project, subsidiary programs, and program activities managed in a coordinated way to obtain benefit. Now we are talking about benefits, and benefits, before we were talking about objective. In program, we will talk about benefits. Program activities managed in a coordinated way to obtain benefit and control not available for managing them individually. Program management focus on interdependency of project and describe the best approach to achieve program objective. Now, what is portfolio? Portfolio is a collection of project, program, subsidiary portfolios and operations managed as a group to achieve strategic objective. In next diagram, it will clarify it. For example, this is an organization. This organization want to achieve the objective. So what the portfolio will do? Portfolio will make some sub portfolios. Portfolio will make some programs, and portfolio will make directly some projects. And moreover, portfolio will also coordinate directly with the operation. And portfolio is basically the head of the organization. It will see all those things that you have to manage in a coordinated way to identify how you manage the benefit. Now, you see, this diagram will further clarify. An organization have a strategy, and for example, there is a shortage of electricity. The organization will tell the portfolio, please take some decision that we need electricity. Portfolio will make some program and project. Program and projects are result driven. Program and projects will form some objective. They will produce result, and result will directly go to the operation. Operation will give you some business value, and those business value will again go back to the organizational strategy. Organizational strategy will go back to the operation, and so on. This is a cyclic process. If you have any questions so far, please let me know so that we can move further. Any question from anyone, please let me know so that we can move further.
Sir, one clarification is required. Operation is only part of the portfolio. It's not the part of program. Right?
Yes, yes, 100%. 100%. Operation is only the part of portfolio because portfolio is looking for the complete organizational strategy. Clear? Any other question from anyone?
Okay, thank you, sir.
Sure. Any other question? Okay.
What is the difference between the project management and project operation management?
Okay. When we talk about project management is temporary. One more thing, I am also recording this session. So if you guys want a recorded session, I can also send you this. I will upload it on Google Drive or maybe at Udemy, and you can access it from there. Now, a very important concept, what is project life cycle? Just like our life, we are born and we are die. Similarly, project start and project end. That is the life cycle of project. That's it. No complexity from start to end. When the project ends, the life cycle completes. Now we have two different methodology when we talk about uh, when we talk just one more someone asked the question, please, we will take the questions during the, I will ask when we can have the question. Okay. Project life cycle is starting the project and ending the project. And during the project life cycle, we have phases. At the phases, we have go, no go decision that should we move ahead or should we stop. At that point, we reflect whether we should move ahead or not. At each end of phase, we will have phase gate. We will explain it later. We have basically four type of life cycle: predictive life cycle, iterative life cycle, incremental, and agile. Two major methodologies are predictive and agile. We, to predictive, we also called as waterfall methodology. We also called as plan driven methodology. Why? Because in predictive, requirements are fixed, activities are done only once, delivery is single, and the goal is to manage cost. Then we have agile. We called agile as adaptive methodology or change driven methodology. Why? Because requirements are dynamic. At any point you can add requirement in agile methodology, and we do activities in a repeated cycles until they are correct, and we deliver in small deliverables. And customer satisfaction is the number one priority when we talk about agile. Iterative and incremental approaches can be used both in predictive as well as in agile. You see, we had this triangle, triple constraint triangle. In predictive methodology, this is the triangle. But when we go to agile, this triangle become inverted. Here, scope is not fixed. Scope can change. Cost and time and quality are fixed. We normally say we have time boxing. What do me I mean by time boxing? We have a definite time, 1 month to 4 months, and we see what we can produce in that time. Okay, now let's study project phase. In project phase, we have deliverable at the end of each phase. Deliverable is a measurable, verifiable work product. Measurable, verifiable. In order for something to be classified as a deliverable, it has to be measurable and it has to be verifiable. If you cannot measure and you cannot verify or either of these things, then it is not a deliverable. Then we have a phase. Phase is a collection of logically related project activities that are combined to form one or more deliverable. This means at the end of a phase, you have to have a deliverable at your hand. Now, what are the deliverables we can have from the phase? We can have a feasibility study. We can have a customer requirement at our hand. We can have a solution development. We can have a design finalized. We can have a prototype finalized at our hand at the end of a phase. Now, phase gate is held at the end of a phase. The project performance and progress are compared to project and business documents are updated. We decide should we move ahead or should we stop at the end of a phase. Now, before moving ahead, let me see what are the question. Please share this document as well. Okay, Asnan, I will look into it that whether to share the document or not, because I have to ask it from my team. Now, project management processes. We have 49 different processes, and all those processes follow the same ways: input, tools and technique, and output. Every project management processes produces one or more output from one or more input by using appropriate tools and techniques. You customize each and every process according to the requirement. It's just like going to a tailor and getting your shirt customized according to your requirement. If you does not customize your requirement, then how you are gonna proceed? The appropriate project management cycles are tailored according to requirement. For example, if you are working in an hydro cycle and you are using a project charter, and now you go to a oil and gas, you have to customize those charter according to your requirement. Now, very important, we have three types of data: work performance data, work performance information, and work performance report. Basically, work performance data is at lower level. I used to classify it as work performance data is level 0, work performance information is level 1, and work performance reports are level 2. If you have to communicate it to your sponsor, your stakeholder, your seniors, you have to transfer into a some readable, understandable format. But when you classified work performance data, let's study it. Work performance data are raw observation and measurement identified during activities performed to carry out the project work. And when you convert work performance data into a some understandable data, for example, you go to a project, you see this activity is done, this percentage, 15% of the activity has been completed. Maybe your stakeholders are unable to understand. You have to give your stakeholders into an understandable format. So you convert work performance data into some data that can be understandable. So you have work performance information. Level 0, we have level 1, the performance data collected from various controlling process, analyzed in context and integrated based on relationship across area. Then if you need to transfer it to the stakeholder, senior stakeholders, maybe the project sponsor, you have to convert into physical or electronic representation of work performance information compiled in a project document, which is intended to generate decision or raise awareness actions among the stakeholders. So this was about work performance data, work performance information, and work performance report. If you have any question from work performance data, information, and report, please let me know, because it is very important that you understand all these things, because work performance data, information, and report, you are gonna see that in examination. That is paramount that you understand. Okay. Process groups and knowledge areas. PMP has divided the complete PMBOK into process groups and knowledge areas. We have 5 process group: initiation process group, planning process group, execution, monitoring and control, and closing. And then we have 10 knowledge areas: integration, scope, schedule, cost, quality, resource, communication, risk, procurement, and stakeholder. Identified area described in terms of component, processes, tools, and technique. We will study it according to first process group, then according to knowledge areas. Okay, but before moving forward, let's learn the key terminologies. What is business case? Okay, before moving to the business case, let me tell you how a project is formed. A need is identified from the customer or someone. A feasibility report or a feasibility study is done. Feasibility studies means that whether this project will be according to the business organization strategy or not. Feasibility study is done. After feasibility study is completed, you make a business case. In business case, you have reasons, option, benefit, cost, time scales, risk, that what are the business benefit of doing this project. After having a business case, you make a benefit management plan. From business case, you took a benefit and you make a complete benefit management plan. Benefit management plan is very important for stakeholders to understand why they are spending their resource on this particular project and why they are not spending on other project. From business case and benefit management plan, you form a project charter. Project charter you form a project charter. Project charter is a legal document, official document that authorize the authority of project manager. You have project title on it, project manager, who will the project manager, when the project will start, when the project will end, who will be the sponsor of the project, how the business need will be identified, what will be the high level scope, how the deliverable will understand, what are the risk, assumption, milestone, all those things will be identified in the project charter. We are going to study project charter in detail in today's master class. Then in benefit management plan, we identify the benefit. Please, someone's mic is on. Kindly turn your mic off so that my voice is not recalling again. Okay. You identify the benefit, you execute those benefits, then those benefits are measured and sustained. Very important thing. Benefits are measured in operations. Project produce benefit, they execute the benefit management plan, they transfer the benefit from project to operation. It's the responsibility of a business analyst to ensure that benefits are sustained. Your benefits, your timeline, your matrices, they have to be according to that. Okay. Then you measure the success of project. You identify at the start how the success will look like. How you are gonna measure the success. What are the factors that will identify the success? What is the best way to identify your ROI, return of investment? How the time, cost, and scope are gonna measured. Now we are going to move in the 5 process groups. But before moving, okay. Now we have 5 process groups: initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and control, and closing. We start the project, we plan, execute, monitor, and close. Let's look in extreme detail what exactly we do in these 5 processes. And let me tell you, exam is gonna ask you question according to these 5 domains. So if you have any question, please write it. Once all process groups are completed, please do ask the question. And we are going to come back to this grid. In initiation process, you select the project charter, project manager. Project manager is selected. You select who is gonna your project manager. Who is gonna be your project manager. Then you determine what is the company culture, what is the existing system. You collect processes, procedure, historical information. You divide the process into smaller phases. You found the business case, you understand the business case, you understand the benefit management plan, you uncover requirements, you assume risk, you form the constraints, what are the agreements, you uncover all those things, agreements, assumption, risk, requirement. You assess what is the feasibility of these constraints. You measure the project objective and you form project charter. You identify stakeholder and determine the expectations of those stakeholders. The two biggest outcome of initiation process group are project charter and risk stakeholder register. Project charter and stakeholder register are the two biggest outcomes of the initiation process. In planning, you determine how we'll plan for each knowledge areas. Now we have 9 knowledge areas to plan, and then we have 10th knowledge area to integrate all these things. Then you detail your requirement, you create a project scope statement. In project scope statement, we will study what will be in the scope, what will be out of the scope. You assess what to purchase and what to procure. You determine who will be in your team. You form work breakdown structure and work breakdown structure dictionary. You create activity list from the work package to make a network diagram after sequencing all those activity. You estimate resource, you estimate time and cost. You determine the critical part, you determine the schedule, budget, quality standard, processes, metrics. You create a process improvement plan, determine the roles and responsibility. You need to plan communication and how to communicate to stakeholder. You perform risk identification in which risk register is formed having the list of all risks. Then you qualitatively see which is the high level risk, which is the medium, which is the low level risk. Then you perform quantitative risk assessment on high level risk. Then you perform risk planning, you implement those risk planning. You go back, you do iteration. Iteration is the meaning you go complete the process. You do progressive elaboration. Progressive elaboration means that you plan whatever the knowledge you have right now, and as you move in the process, you elaborate in detail. Then you finalize procurement document. You create a change management plan. You finalize how to execute and control parts of management plan. You develop realistic and finalize project management plan, and you form a performance measurement baseline. You gain formal approval of the plan, and then you hold a kick-off meeting. Kick-off meeting is a meeting after which a project or a phase started. Then you move to the third domain, that is execution domain. Before moving to third domain, we have studied many things. So how the work will be completed and how we are gonna do that work. So in execution work, we execute the work according to project management plan. We produce deliverables. We gather work performance data. We request change. We implement only approved changes. We continuously improve our processes. We do follow up. We determine whether processes are correct and effective. We do quality audits. We acquire final team. We manage people. We evaluate team and individual performance. We hold team building meetings, give recognition. We use issue logs to see what are the issues. If there is a conflict, we facilitate conflict resolution. We release the resources as their assignments are completed. We send and receive feedback. We repeat. We report on project performance. We manage stakeholder expectation. This is very important that you have to manage stakeholder engagement and expectation. We hold meetings. We select sellers. We take action according to project work. We measure performances. We measure performances against the metrics in the project management plan. We analyze and evaluate performance. We determine if variance warrant a corrective action or other change request. We influence the factors that can cause changes. We request change. We perform integrated change control, approve or reject changes. We update the project management plan and project documents. These are all the processes of monitoring and control. We inform stakeholder of the results of the change request. We monitor stakeholder engagement. We monitor configuration. We create forecast. We create trends, whether we are moving upward or downward. We gain acceptance of the deliverables from the customer. We do perform quality control, whether the quality is according to our requirement or not. We do risk assessment and audit. We manage reserves. We do control procurements. And now the last process group, that is closing. We confirm the work is done according to requirement. We complete procurement closures. Now all the procurement are closed. We gain final acceptance of the product. We complete financial closures. We hand off the completed projects. We receive the feedback from the customer about the project. We complete final performance reporting. We index and archive the records. We gather final lessons and update knowledge bases. This is all about the process groups. If you have any questions about the project process groups, uh, you can ask right now, or we can move ahead. We are gonna study the process group. Sorry, the knowledge areas. You see, this is the major grid of your PMP exam. We have initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and control, and closing. Initiation, we have studied all the 5 process groups. Now we are going to study all these knowledge areas: integration, scope, schedule, cost, quality, resource, communication, risk, procurement, stakeholder. We will study all 49 processes. We will study all the 49 processes and see what we can do about them. These are all 10 knowledge areas: integration, scope, time, cost, quality, human resource, communication, risk, procurement, and stakeholder. In chapter 4, now I have all the knowledge areas. PIM book has been arranged according to knowledge areas. So now for all the knowledge areas will be from chapter 4, chapter 13 according to a PIM book. In project integration management, we studied process and activities needed to identify, define, combine, unify, and combine the various processes and project management activities within the project management process groups. In the integration, we have 7 processes. First, we will develop the project charter. Then we develop project management plan. Then we will direct and manage work. We will manage project knowledge. We will monitor and control project work. We will perform integrated change control. Then we close the project. We will study each these processes. In project develop project charter, we will study the project charter. What is project charter? Basically, it is a document that formally authorizes a project and provide the project manager with the authority to apply organizational resources to the project activities. Key project stakeholders should sign project charter to acknowledge agreement on the need and the intent of the project charter. Project charter is a well-defined project, is a well-defined it starts the project and it clarifies the boundaries of the project. It formalizes the authority of the project manager through the senior project. So at the end of the develop project charter, you will have project charter at your hand, which will give authority to project manager to apply all the resources into the project. Then you will develop project management plan. In the develop project management plan, the process of defining, preparing, coordinating, and integrating all the plans. You have 14 different types of plan. You prepare all those plans, you coordinate, you define them, and you integrate. Integration means combining all the subsidiary plan. Project management plan is a central document. It defines the basis of all project work. It defines how the project work will be executed, monitored, and controlled, and how it will be closed. And at the end of this will be an iterative process, because you will form a scope management plan. It will be updated accordingly to the requirement of the processes. The project management plan will be updated. At the start, you may have 9 pages, and as you move, it will be updated according to the requirement. Now, in the execution phase, we will have direct and manage project work. It is a process of performing work defined in project management plan to achieve the project objective. It will perform work defined in project management plan to obtain project objective. It provides the overall management of project work. Now, really, this is the only process in the PIM book. Out of 49 process, it is the only process in which work is being done. Deliverables are being produced. Work performance data is being produced. Change requests are being implemented. Change requests are being produced. This is very important process. Then, in the execution process, we have direct and managed knowledge. The process of using existing knowledge and creating new knowledge to achieve the project objective and contribute to organizational learning. You are using existing knowledge, you are creating new knowledge, and you are managing that knowledge to achieve project objective to contribute to organizational learning. Prior organizational knowledge is leveraged to produce or improve the project outcomes. Then you monitor and control the complete project work. You do tracking, reviewing, reporting to meet the performance objective of the project, so that the performance objective are performed. It allows stakeholders to understand state of project, step taken, budget, schedule, and the scope, and they forecast how the project will form. It is the mother and father of all the monitoring and control. Now, then you perform integrated change control. Change request can be asked at any process. It can be requested at any process, but all change requests have to go through perform integrated change control. The process of reviewing all change requests, approving change requests, and managing changes to deliverables, organizational assets, document, and plan, and then communicating all the change requests. You review and approve all change requests. You manage changes, you communicate those changes. It allows documented changes within a project to be considered in an integrated fashion while reducing a project risk, which often arise from changes made without considering overall objectives or plan. Change request will be requested by any person. The impact of that change request will be measured in all domains: scope, time, cost, quality. If that change request is okay, the change control board will accept that request, or it will deny, it will defer, or it will send back for more information. Change request will ask, change management board will ask, change control board will ask for more information according to that. Then at the end, you will close the project. The process of formalizing all activities across the project management group to formally complete the project. All requirements are finalized. It will provide lesson learned, formal ending of the project work, and release of organization resources to pursue new endeavors. So if you have any question so far, happen, how the scope will manage it, ensure that project includes all the work and only the work. This is important. All the work and only the work that has to be completed comes under this domain to identify it. So once you know what the work has to be done, how the work has to be done, then you can conclude this project. The scope is very important. We have planned scope management, we have collect requirement, we have defined scope. We will form create WBS, and in create WBS, we will have scope baselines, and in the controlling process, we will form those scope baselines. At the start of each domain, we have a quotation. Opportunity is missed by people because it is dressed in overalls and look like work. Of course, opportunity always look like work. We have to see, we have to do the work. So if we don't do the work, we don't do anything. Okay. So in the plan scope, in the plan scope management, we create a scope management plan, how scope will be defined, validated and controlled. Complete scope management plan will be defined. Complete scope management plan will be ensured. How scope will be managed, defined, validated, and controlled. It ensures that project includes all the work required and only the work required to complete the project successfully. It provides guidance and direction on how project scope will be managed throughout the project. Then in plan scope management, we will have two plans. We will have scope management plan at our hand. We will have requirement management plan, and requirement management plan will produce collect requirement. All the requirement that has been selected, has been made in the project charter, they will be clarified. We will consider that requirements are unambiguous, they are traceable, they are complete, they are consistent, they are acceptable to stakeholder. Determining, documenting, and managing stakeholder needs and requirement to meet project objective. It provides the basis for defining and managing the project scope and including the product scope. So in collective requirement, we will consider both project and product scope. Then, then we will see how the process of developing a detailed description of the project and product, how the project is formed, how the product is formed, what is the scope baseline, and what other things come under the scope baseline. It describes the project, services, or result boundaries by the defining which of the requirement collected will be included and excluded from project scope. In project scope, we will have project scope statement as outlined. In project scope statement, it will clarify in detail what will be in the scope, what will be out of the scope, what are the constraints, what are the requirements, how the scope is measured, how the scope is maintained. Everything will be written in project scope statement. So when we subdivide the complete work into small and manageable part, we will have scope baseline at with hand with work breakdown structure and work breakdown dictionary. And work breakdown structure, scope baseline, and work scope will form scope baseline. So basically, what do you have in scope baseline? Work breakdown structure, work breakdown dictionary, and project scope statement. It basically detailed everything that you have to do in the project. Now baseline is formed in the control scope. Your major task is to ensure that we do not exceed to the baseline. Monitoring the status of the project and product scope and managing changes to the scope baseline. It allows the scope baseline to be maintained throughout the complete project. So baselines will be maintained. Now, one important process that comes under the scope is validate scope. Deliverables were produced in direct and manage work. Once the deliverables are produced, they go to control quality. In control quality, the quality is checked whether the quality is acceptable or not. Once the quality says that deliverables are accepted, then the deliverables come to validate scope. The verified deliverable come in the validate scope, and here the scope is checked that it is according to our agreement, according to scope, and if it is that, then the scope is closed. If it is not, then the change request is produced. Validate scope is basically formalizing acceptance of the completed project deliverables. Business process or engineering, re-engineering, we have structured walkthroughs, we have document review. We can have at the end of each phase or project. It brings objectively to the acceptance processes and increase the chances of the final product, service, or result acceptance by validating each deliverable. So we have completed project scope. If the timely completion of the project, plan schedule management, we will have schedule management plan at our hand. In defined activities, the work package that were taken from the create WBS, they will be further subdivided into activity and activity list. Then we will sequence those activities according to our requirement. Then we will estimate the resources required on those sequence activity. Then we will determine the duration and we will develop schedule. We will have project schedule at our hand. We will have a schedule baseline to monitor it. And the quotation for the time management is very important. Shazeb, can you read it for me? The quotation for this? This one. Irfan, can you read it? I think Shazeb is unable to read.
If you think you are too small to make a difference, try sleeping with the
Mosquito. Try sleeping with the mosquito, then you will understand the meaning of time management. Dalai Lama said it. Okay, in the plan schedule management, it consists of process of establishing policies, procedure, and documentation for planning, developing, management, and executing and controlling the project schedule. The key benefit is to provide guidance and direction how the project schedule will be managed. In define activity, the process of we will have all those activities, we will divide it into small part. We will have activity list, activity attributes. We will break down the work package into activities that provide a basis for estimating schedule, executing work, and controlling the project work. Then we will sequence those activities. We will have finish to start, we will have finish to finish, finish to start, start to finish, and finish to start, finish to finish, start to start, and start to finish. For logical relations, we will have predetermined diagram and method, project schedule, network diagram at our hands. Okay. Then we will estimate the resources, estimating type, quantity of material, human resources, equipment, supplies required to perform each activities. We identify the type, quantity, and the characteristic of the resources required to complete the activities, which allow more accurate cost and duration estimate. Then we will determine how much time it will take to each activity to complete. We will estimate the number of work period needed to complete individual activities with estimated resources. It provides the amount of time each activity will take to complete, which is the major input to develop schedule. Then we will form a schedule, analyzing activity sequencing, duration, resource requirement, and schedule constraints to create project schedule model. We will see what are the activity sequence, what are the durations, what are the resource requirement, what are the schedule constraint. By entering the schedule activity, duration, and resource availability and logical relationship in the scheduling tools, it generates schedule model with the planned dates for the completion of project activities. We will have schedule baseline at our hand, and in the control schedule, we will manage the schedule that we does not exceed through our baseline, monitoring the status of the project activities to update project progress and manage changes to schedule baseline to achieve plan. It defines a logical sequence of work to obtain the greatest efficiency given all project constraints. And this is all about the schedule domain. So in the cost domain, we study cost management included the process involved in estimating, budgeting, and controlling cost so that the project can be completed within the approved budget. Plan cost management, determine budget, estimated cost, and in the determined budget, we will have cost baseline. So we will have three baseline at our hand: scope baseline, cost baseline, and time baseline. And then we will control the cost. Success is walking from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm by Winston Churchill. In plan cost management, we will establish policies, procedure, and documentation for planning, managing, expanding, controlling the project cost. We will plan how the cost will be managed. We will manage the cost, we will expand the cost, we will control the cost. It provides guidance It provides guidance and direction how the project cost will be managed and throughout the project. We will estimate the cost, the process of developing and approximation of monetary resource needed to complete project activities. If we have activity 1, what will be, who will be the resource and how that resource will be cost, we will calculate that. Activity 2, what will the cost of that activity? We will estimate and we will have approximation at our hand. We will determine the amount of cost required to complete the project work. Then we will determine the budget and we will have budget at our hand. In the budget, we will have contingency reserves. Contingency reserves are for unknown risk and non-risk. And in the control cost, we will manage those cost baseline will be managed. Then let's ask the question. Quality and grade. Quality is whatever the customer has agreed to. If the customer has agreed to poor grade, it's okay. If the customer has added to high grade, then it's okay. For example, if the customer pays you for iPhone and you make a Samsung, then it is not according to the quality standards. So you have to produce according to the quality standard. So what does the note says? Quality is the degree to which the project fulfills requirement. Quality management includes creating and following policies and procedure in order to ensure that the project meets the defined needs it was intended to meet. In the quality, we plan quality management, we execute quality assurance, and we do quality control. A very important thing, quality insurance is above the quality control. In all processes, the control process is above the execution process. The control is basically controlling and monitoring, but in the quality assurance is above quality control. Why? In quality control, we are doing corrective action, whereas in quality assurance, we are doing preventive action, and prevention is above corrective action. So let's study it. If you do not have the time to do it right, when will you have the time to do it over? So you have to do it right the first time. This was said by John Wooden. So quality assurance has to be followed. Quality management. It is a process of identifying quality management standards for the project and its deliverable and documenting how the project will be demonstrated, compliance will be done, and quality requirement will be managed. It provides guidance and direction on how quality will be managed and validated throughout the project. Perform quality assurance. It is a process of auditing quality requirement and result from quality control measurement to ensure that appropriate quality standards and operations are defined and measured. Quality requirements, quality control, audits are done, ensured quality and operation defines are used. It facilitates the improvement of quality process. Control quality. Process of monitoring and recording results of executing quality activities to assess performance and recommended necessary changes. It execute quality assurance, it assess performance, it recommend changes. It identify causes of poor performance and product quality, recommend action, and validate that project deliverables and work meet the requirement. G. Any question any person have so far? Please. जी इरफान 4M में क्या क्या आता है आप बताते हैं 4M में क्या क्या आता है
4M material, machinery, manpower, and time.
जी गुलजार आप बताते हैं मुझे 4M में क्या क्या आता है जी गुलजार आपको आवाज आ रही है ओके
Material, manpower and motion.
जी मैन पावर मशीनरी मटेरियल एंड मनी
जी सर आ रही है सर material, manpower, machine and motion sir.
मशीन मैन पावर मशीनरी मटेरियल एंड मनी जी
Yes.
उमर जब भी हम बात करेंगे ना कि हमने रिसोर्सेज को मैनेज करना है तो हमने 4M को मैनेज करना है और 4M है आपका क्या है मैन पावर मशीनरी मटेरियल एंड मनी जी क्लियर है मनी मटेरियल में पावर मशीनरी रिसोर्स के अंदर आप इन 4 चीजों को मैनेज कर रहे होते हैं जी लेट्स move further. Let me share it again. Up, you acquire project team, confirming human resource availability and obtaining the project team necessary to complete the project activity. You confirm that human resources are available, you obtain the team to obtain the activities. The key benefit of this process is that team is selected, you guide that team, and the responsibility are given. And the major thing to know about is RACI chart. Who is responsible, who is accountable, how to consult, and how to inform. The key benefit consists of outlining and guiding team selection and responsibility assignment to obtain a successful team. Once the acquired team, then you develop the team, you improve the competencies of the team members and overall environment so that the team is according to the standards. You understand what are the competencies, how the team is interacting, what are the overall involvement, how the teamwork is done, what are the people skills, what are the competencies, how the team is empowered, what is the turnout. It results in improved teamwork, enhanced people skills, competencies, motivated people, reduced staff turnover rates, and improved overall project performance. Then you manage the project team. You track the team members' performance, providing feedback and resolving issues and managing team changes to optimize project performance. Tracking performance, providing feedback, resolving issues, team changes, team behavior, managing conflict, resolving issues, appraisals. You optimize project performance. Okay, Ji, in managing project team, you influence the team behavior. You manage conflict. Now, conflict resolution is a very important topic. You facilitate it. If you like to have a master class on this, I have a link on YouTube. I can share it with you guys. Whoever want to know in detail about facilitation and conflict resolution, there's a master class of mine on the YouTube. You can look into it, and or you can message me on the WhatsApp. I will share the link with you. Okay, Ji. Then you control the resources. You ensure that the physical resource allocated to the project are available according to the plan. You monitor planned versus actual use of resources, and you perform corrective actions as necessary. You ensure resource alignment. You ensure resource allocation. You monitor planned versus actual allocation. You control the resources. The key benefit is that to ensure resources are available at the right time and they are released when they are no longer needed. G, we have covered resource management plan and it is very important.
So ये
We have just studied what is project communication, how you plan the communication, how you manage the communication, and how you control the communication. And we ensure that the right communication is obtained and we have effective communication. We only provide the information that is needed and we manage the communication to all the stakeholders. We control the communication. Now, communication also include communicating all the risks to the project stakeholder. The objective of project risk management are to increase the likelihood and impact of the positive event and decrease the likelihood the impact of negative events. Now, risk. What is risk basically? Risk is any uncertain event, that can have positive or negative impact on our project objective. Positive or negative impact on project objective. We plan the risk management. Then we identify the risk. We do qualitative risk analysis, quantitative risk analysis. We plan the risk response. Then we implement those response. We monitor and control project risk. We plan how to approach and execute project risk and management. We identify the risk, we assess risk, we treat risk, we monitor and review the risk. It ensures that the degree, type, and visibility of risk management are commensurated with both the risk and importance of projects to the organization. In identify risk, we form a risk register, the documenting of the existing risk and how knowledge and ability provides to project team to anticipate risk. List of risk will be formed and you manage all those risks. Then we have qualitative risk assessment. We see low, medium, high. We focus on high probability and high impact risk. We see what are the risks, what are the likely impact, what are the likely probability. It enables project manager to reduce the level of uncertainty and to focus on high priority risk. Then we have quantitative risk assessment. In quantitative risk assessment, we take high risk and we do Monte Carlo analysis, sensitivity analysis, how the risks are going to occur. It produces quantitative risk information to support a decision making in order to reduce project uncertainty. We plan the responses for positive and negative risk. Then we implement those processes in the execution phase. We plan differently for positive risk and the negative risk. Some of the strategies to manage risk are, for negative risk are avoid, mitigate, transfer, accept, escalate. For the positive risk, it are exploit, enhance, share, accept, escalate. Then you monitor and control the risk. It is the process of implementing risk response plan, tracking, identifying risk, monitoring residual risk, identifying new risk, evaluating risk process effectiveness, and throughout the project, you implement those responses, track them, monitor them, identify them. It improves efficiency of project throughout the project lifecycle to continuously optimize response. So we have completed the risk process. Any question in this process, risk process is very important from the exam point of view. Ji, in procurement plan, we plan procurement, we conduct procurement, we control procurement. Previously, closed procurement was also here, but now it has moved to the close the project. But we will just look at it because once we study procurement, we need to know how they are resolved. We cannot solve a problem with the same thinking which we used when we created them. Albert Einstein said that. The process of documenting, creating project procurement decision, specifying the project procurement, and identifying potential seller. It also determine whether to acquire outside support, and if so, what to acquire, how much is required. Then we conduct the procurement, then we control the procurement. Control the procurement ensure both the sellers and buyer performance meet procurement requirement according to the legal. Then we close the procurements. It documents agreement and related documentation for future reference. Then there is stakeholder management, identifying the people, group, organization that could impact or be impacted by the project to analyze stakeholder expectation and their impact on project and to develop strategy. We identify stakeholder, we will have stakeholder register with hand, we plan how we are going to manage them, then we manage them, then we control them. The conventional definition of management is getting work done through people, but real management is development people through work. We identify stakeholders, we plan their engagement, we manage their engagement by communicating what is done, what are the expectations, then we control their engagement according to requirement. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to change
Project
the
management
methodology. I'm going to make it more interactive. Gulzar, please explain what is PMO.
Sir, project management office.
What is the purpose of project management office?
PMO is its purpose is to provide the standards, formats, and it has three forms: sportive, controlling, and directive. It depends. All these three vary because of their control over the projects. If it is only providing the standards, formats, this is only supportive. If the control is more, then it is controlling. And in case of directive, it selects project managers and it provides different, project management, controlling activities.
Okay. So sportive, controlling, and directive, we have three types of PMO. Sportive just give the template. Controlling basically does the audit. Directive orders that. PMO is basically a project management office which supports us with templates and the necessary supports we needed to complete the project. Okay. Ji Gulzar, what is entire enterprise environmental factor and organizational assets?
So enterprise environmental factor are two types: internal and external. External enterprise environmental factor are out of control of the project management team and project manager. And OPAS are also plan processes, procedures, and repositories. So these are the OPAS. Two types in OPAS as well as two types in the enterprise environmental factors.
Environmental factors are extremely important when you consider the perspective, it considers of all the organizational structure, culture, industry standard, infrastructure, existing human structure, personal administration, organizational work, authorization, market conditions, stakeholder tolerance. Organizational assets are policies, procedures, templates, lesson learned, how the organization basically work. Then we have organizational structure, depending upon how organizational work. We have weak organizational, functional organizational, matrix organizational, project oriented organizational, depending upon the authority of project manager. Then we have the role of project manager. Project manager is just like an orchestra conductor. He have to manage technical things. He have to manage uh, technical project management, leadership of the team, strategic and business management. He has to comprehend all these three things. This is the PMI talent triangle that ensures that if you are a PMI certified project manager, you understand all these things. G. Irfan, can you put some highlight on this PMI talent triangle, and can you tell us what basically project manager does?
Actually, the PMI talent triangle, PM ये बताती है कि जो हमारा PM प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर है, उसके पास ये वाली जो है ना, उसकी कॉम्पिटेंसीज उसमें या होनी चाहिए। उसमें आपका टेक्निकल नॉलेज, टेक्निकल प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट है, लीडरशिप है, स्ट्रेटेजिक बिजनेस मैनेजमेंट है। लीडरशिप में वो अपनी जो टीम है उसको लेके चलता है, उसको मोटिवेशनल, उसकी टीम बिल्डिंग, टीम कंट्रोलिंग, और टेक्निकल मैन उसकी जो टेक्निकलिटी है वो उसमें एक्सपर्टी लेवल्स क्या हैं, वो अपनी टीम को जो टेक्निकलिटीज हैं उनको लेके कैसे चलता है। और इसके साथ साथ जो है उसके पास स्ट्रेटेजिक बिजनेस मैनेजमेंट भी होनी चाहिए कि वो अपनी सिचुएशन या मार्केट डिमांड को देखते हुए कि इस वक्त मार्केट में जो है वो प्रोजेक्ट की डिमांड कैसी है, मार्केट में दूसरे कॉम्पिटिटर
100%,
कैसे हैं, उनको लेके हमने अपनी जो स्ट्रेटेजिक है, फंडिंग है या बेनिफिट्स हैं, उनको कैसे लेके चलना है।
100% right. G.
Amir, I have a quick question.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so I don't think PMI describes anywhere the relative weightage of these three. I mean, how important is to have, for example, leadership skills as opposed to the technical skills. Somebody has very good leadership skills, but he's a technically weak PM. Does it really matter? I mean, so this triangle shows that all three faces are equal, but
Okay.
practically it can't be true, right?
Okay. So you want me to answer the question from PMI perspective or from the generally project perspective?
No, no, no.
The last section. Now in this section, I'm going to explain we are going to cover one process in detail. We have covered 49 processes, but we have covered only the overall view of the process. Now in our notes, this is the bonus section basically. We will cover the project charter in detail. We will cover what is the project charter, input, tools and technique, business case, benefits, project charter, and we will review it. Project charter, it formally authorizes the existence of a project and provide project management authority to apply organizational resource to project activities. Authorize the project, provide project management with authority, authorized to use resources, issue and signed by project initiator or sponsor or external authority. It provides a direct linkage between the project and strategic objective of the organization. It provides project manager should be assigned as early as possible, preferably by project charter is defined. This process is performed once at the predefined points in the project. Now, what project charter contains? It contains business need, high-level requirement, summary, milestone, summary budget, high-level risk, project management assignment. What are the ITTUs? Business documents, agreements, enterprise, organizational assets, expert judgment, data gathering, interpersonal tools and technique, meetings, project charter, project assumption log. Let's study input, business case, agreement, enterprise environmental factor, OPF. In business documents, we have business case and benefit management plan. Project manager need to ensure that the project management approach capture the intent of the business documents. Both are interdependency and iteratively developed and maintained throughout the project lifecycle. Project manager cannot change this document. Very important from PM perspective. Project manager cannot change this document. G. This is how the project moves. Then business case, it's a document economic feasibility study used to establish validity of the benefit of project cycle. It is written by project initiator, sponsor, or project stakeholder. Business case constraint, business background, business benefit, assumption, constraint, gap analysis, expected ROI. It identify business, establish feasibility, cost benefit analysis, how the decisions are going to happen. It have the detailed cost and benefit analysis. What are the present value today? What is the present value of today of this project? What will be the value in future? If we spend, what will be the net present value? What is the internal rate of return? What is the payback period? How cost benefit analysis will be calculated? Then in benefit management plan, we document explanation the process for creating, maximizing, and sustaining the benefit. We target the benefit strategic alignment of those benefit time frame, benefit owner, matrices, assumption, and risk. We have agreements. Agreement can be contract, memorandum of understanding, service level agreement, level of letter of agreements, letter of intent, verbal agreement, emails, other agreements. We have enterprise environmental factor and which are internal and external. Organizational culture and all these are internal and external enterprise environmental factor. Very important from exam point of view. We have OPS, processes, policies and procedure, organizational knowledge and repository. Then tools and technique. In tools and technique, we have expert judgment. Now, expert judgment and meetings are the most used tool in complete PMI, PMP exam. In the all 49 processes, you are going to see in our notes, we critically explain how this expert judgment are going to happen in this process. For example, in develop project charter, the expert from industry, technical, financial costing will come. They will identify, assess business case used to develop project charter can be applied to all technical and management detail. We will have expert from subject matter expert, other organizational consultant, and professional and technical expert. Then we will study what is brainstorming, focus group, and interview. Brainstorming is basically idea generation technique. We will identify the problem, we will generate the idea, we will select the idea, and we'll implement those ideas. Idea generation and idea selection are part of brainstorming, while problem identification and implementations are happen prior and before. Then we will have focus group, we will have interviews, we will interpersonal and team skills in which we will have conflict management, facilitation, meeting, and we will have meetings, and we will have output as project charter and assumption log. In the project charter, we will study what are the justification, what are the reasons, what are the levels, what are the milestone, each and everything in detail. Then we will have assumption logs. We will, and at the end we will review all it, what it has inside it, and we will understand we have project management plan which have 18 documents and project documents we have 33 documents. G. And my message in the end is stay hungry, stay foolish. The meaning is keep learning, keep moving forward, stay focused, and whatever you learn, keep teach others. Because when you learn, what are the things you teach other people? G. And at the end, if you have any question, please let us